Hello and welcome to the OTB channel. Today we're going to do a distro review. We're going to look at Zorin OS 16. See you after the intro. Okay, welcome back. So, I'm sure, like most of you out there, we've seen the Linus Tech Tips channel and how they're doing a little bit of a Linux challenge at the moment. I've only seen snippets, and I've seen how they've struggled, and they're essentially gamers, and they seem to be facing a number of challenges moving to Linux. But at the end of the day, you know, it's a huge channel, Linus Tech Tips. And the fact that they're trying Linux for the first time, I think it's going to get the name of Linux out there because, let's face facts, most ordinary computer users probably haven't got a clue that Linux even exists. And when they actually see a Linux system for the first time, Joe Public, you know, your average Joe, probably isn't going to be like many of us geeks or, you know, technically orientated people. If they're looking for a different operating system, perhaps because Windows 11 isn't going to work for them for whatever reason, they just want an alternative that works. They probably want something quite familiar. They want something that isn't going to stretch them too much. They're not interested in messing about with text files or doing too much configuration. They just want to boot into it and they want to do what they normally do. I always think of my wife as the typical computer user. She uses a laptop. She uses word processing. She uses a web browser. And to be honest, that's pretty much it. Oh, she plays a little bit of music on it. I would hazard a guess that the majority of computer users out there probably aren't looking for anything more complicated or detailed than that. So there's certainly a market out there for a Linux distro that appeals to the majority of computer users out there who aren't geeks and just allows them to get on with the job without worrying too much about the system. Which started me thinking this week that, you know, are there systems out there that can do that job and be really easy for a Windows user? And I've seen that Zorin seems to be getting an awful lot of love at the moment about being easy to use and how well put together it is. So I thought I'd give it a look. Let's go and have a look at their website. So here we are on the combined screen, and you should be able to see the Zorin OS website there. And first impressions are, it looks very professional, nothing there to put you off, there's not too much text, it's clean and it's easy to read. Tells you that this is how to make your computer more reliable, secure, faster, better, etc., etc. And there's an immediate link to download. And as you go down, it talks about how the Zorin desktop is familiar. You can change the layout to suit your environment. And if you're a Windows or a Mac OS user, or even a Linux user, you're already going to know how to use it. So it's very much going on about you're not going to struggle to get used to this operating system. It runs lightning fast. It can revive your old PC. And there, yeah, no TPM required, the trusted platform module that Windows 11 requires. So you can actually use a computer as old as 15 years with Zorin, not a problem. What do we have here? We have a few little pieces of information about how reliable and secure it is and privacy respecting, with lots of different apps. A little bit about gaming, using Steam, Lutris and other sources. Zorin Connect, which allows you to connect your mobile device to the operating system, to dual boot alongside Windows, and how it's going to be compatible with your existing files. Okay, so all good. So let's go to the download link. And there's two options here. You can download Zorin OS Pro. Now, I believe the Pro has more layouts or themes, if you like, than the free version. Professional grade applications, I'm not quite sure what they mean by that. Advanced productivity software includes a Pro Lite edition for old PCs and support for the development of Zorin operating system. Let's have a look at that. So what has it actually got? Oh, it has a whole range of different desktop layouts, including a Windows 11 layout, apparently. Standard layouts. Professional grade creative suites. Productivity software. Okay, well, all good, but let's go back to the normal. I don't want to pay £39 excluding VAT. Not that £39 is a lot of money, and I've got no problem with developers earning money. But if you're coming to this for the first time, you may want to try one of the free versions first to see if it suits you. And in terms of that, we have Core and Lite. So Core, I believe, is based on GNOME, but it doesn't actually look anything like GNOME. It's its own thing. So, yeah, that's a good thing. I don't like the default look of GNOME, and I think that would be quite off-putting to new users. And you have a light version, which I'm assuming, I could be wrong here, is going to be based on something like XFCE. Yes, it is here. So the advanced desktop is based on GNOME, and the lightweight desktop is based on XFCE. So what I've done for this is I've downloaded the core version. I'm going to fire it up in VirtualBox. Let's have a look-see. So you should see now on your screens Zorin OS. I've just booted from the ISO in VirtualBox, and initially when you boot you're given the option of install straight away or try. So I've selected try and it's booted into this desktop. First impressions, very clean, very light. It looks quite familiar. It's quite Windows-like, which is what I was expecting, to be honest, and we will go through it in more detail once it's installed. But for now, let's get on and do the install. We have the icon up here, install Zorin OS 16, so double-click on that and see where it takes us. I just want to check, really, that this is what we would expect, a Ubiquiti or Calamaris install, which should be fairly straightforward. And here we are, our welcome screen saying, what language do we want to set? So it's defaulted to English, so I'm just going to click continue. We'll set English UK as our keyboard layout. Download updates while installing Zorin OS. Yeah, absolutely. Install third-party software for graphics and Wi-Fi. Yeah, actually, I would always tick that anyway, especially if I'm installing on a laptop, just to make sure that I do stand a chance of getting decent Wi-Fi support. Don't participate in the census. So what's the census? The census lets the Zorin OS developers count the number of users anonymously. I'm not that keen on the fact that don't participate in the census isn't clicked by default, but I'm going to click it anyway. If I was installing it, I wouldn't have too much of a problem with it, but as I'm just doing a VirtualBox install, it doesn't really seem worth it. So it would give false statistics, really. So the next screen takes us to how do you want to install? So erase disk and install Zorin OS. Yeah, sure, I'm going to go for that. Advanced features, what does that include? Okay, so you can set up LVM or you can erase the disk and use ZFS. Okay, fine. Or something else. Well, let's erase the disk and install Zorin. It summarizes what it's going to do. So it's going to create an ext4 partition. Okay, that's interesting. I don't seem to have got the option here to set a swap partition, but let's just continue. It's picked the right time zone for me. I get the impression it wants to ask users as little as possible here, which is understandable if you're trying to bring people across from alternative operating systems. So let's just set up my username, OTB. I'll choose a password, And yes, it's short. Do I want to log in automatically? No, I think I'd like to require my password to log in. Use Active Directory. That's really interesting. You enter your domain and other details in the next step. So it really is geared up for people who could be on an Active Directory domain at work. That's the first time I've seen that on a Linux desktop. I think that's really useful. And that's it. It's going to install. So I won't put you through the pain of this. We'll just carry on with the install and we'll come back once I reboot into the install system. And we're back. Installation took about 10 minutes or so. It was installing updates, obviously, which I selected during the installation, so perhaps took a little bit longer because of that. But it went flawlessly. There was no issues. And as you can see, I've now booted into my installed system and I'm immediately welcomed with welcome to Zorin OS 16. Do I want to take a tour? Well, I probably won't go through the full tour, but I just want to see what it offers. It tells you how to open the menu, choose your desktop look, speed up your virtual machine. It's detected I'm on a VM. Okay, great. Connect your online accounts, link your phone and computer with Zorin Connect. I think that's something like KDE Connect in the background. Use software to find and install apps. Choose the Office suite that works best with the documents that you use. And LibreOffice, it says, is already installed, which is great. But if you want to use only Office, by all means do it. So what's it saying here? It works best with DocX. So it's recommending only Office if you're using Microsoft Office documents. Now, the hardened Linux evangelists amongst us may have a problem with that because LibreOffice works fine with Microsoft Office on the whole. But I suppose if you're trying to ensure maximum compatibility, why not? It's up to Zorin and it's up to the user who's installing. That's it. We hope that you enjoy Zorin OS. And immediately that we close that, we see that an update has been issued. I'm just going to click Remind Me Later for that. I don't want to go through updates while I'm doing a demo. So we get this very clean desktop. Now, I'm not going to pretend that this is an operating system I would install. As I said in the introduction, Linux tends to be quite niche, and within that niche, there is an even smaller niche of people who like to tweak and fiddle and like window managers, etc., etc. And I come from that sort of tiny niche, as you know from many of my videos. But I'm trying to approach this review here as if I was someone who has never used Linux before, and this is my first view of a Linux operating system. And I have to say, from what I can see so far, it looks fine. I know this is ultimately based on GNOME. I don't think GNOME looks particularly friendly for a user who's never seen anything like that. There's no familiarity with it. But this looks very Windows-like. And as a new user to Linux, I would probably just go straight here to the menu. And I'm essentially seeing what I would expect. So very Windows-like in terms of the shortcuts to different things here. And of course you have all your menu items here. So let's just have a quick look through. So accessories, clocks, maps, a text editor, a to-do program and weather. Games. Okay, so you have a few things installed by default. Solitaire, Mahjong, Mines, etc. What about in graphics? You have the GIMP installed by default. I think that's great. I know the GIMP can be quite difficult to use, and I've fought with it a few times, but it is incredibly powerful. And if somebody wants to learn it, it's good to have it there already. A photos application, an image viewer, and of course we have LibreOffice Draw there. What about internet? Firefox is installed by default. And we have Ramina, which is your remote desktop client if you want to remote into, well, not just a Windows box, another Linux box. And if you've got a Windows user, that might be an essential application that they're looking for. With Office, yeah, pretty much what I would expect. I see the Evolution email client is there. I have to say I haven't used Evolution since the days of GNOME 2, but I was an Evolution user. And if you're using something like, or you've been used to using something like Microsoft Outlook, again, that will be very familiar to you. Sound and video? Brasero. So, okay, we've got a CD/DVD burning application there. I think the days of having computers where you need a CD or DVD burning application are dying out. I haven't actually got a DVD drive on any of my laptops, not even the older ThinkPads. But I suppose if somebody's got an older computer, it's useful to have that. Cheese for your webcam. PaTV, which I believe is a GNOME version of Kdenlive almost. Rhythm box for your music, a sound recorder and a video player. It's interesting, I'm noting here that they're not necessarily using the names of the applications, they're just putting them as videos, whatever that happens to be. System tools, so you have your driver manager, your disk application, power stats, your software updater, startup applications, Zorin Appearance. And last but not least, utilities. Okay, all the normal stuff that you would expect. So, a decent selection of software to start you off. Nothing that's going to confuse you if you've never been on a Linux system before. It's all pretty straightforward and explained in normal words. So, what have we got on the right-click menu? New folder, new document, show desktop in files. Let's just click on that and see what it does. Okay, so it's opening up my file explorer. And if we go here, about files, I'm assuming this is Nautilus, or what used to be called Nautilus. But okay, it's fine. There's your file manager. Your documents, your downloads, your music folder. And clearly it's not got anything in at the moment. Opening terminal. Okay, change background. Let's have a look at the backgrounds that we have as default. Okay, we have a few here. A decent selection to get you started. They're all quite lightly themed. What's that one like? I quite like that. Okay, in fact, we'll stick with that for the time being. I'm assuming, let's just make this full screen, that this is essentially your GNOME settings application. So sound, power, yes it is. Displays, you can see I'm on full HD here. There was no issues in VirtualBox getting it to go into full HD. Your printers, removable media, default applications, all the normal stuff that you would perhaps expect. So let's just shut that down and let's see what we can find in themes. And I notice the Appearance program is here on the main menu. So let's click on Zorin Appearance and see what it brings up. Okay, so it starts off with the layouts. I'm actually quite surprised that the layouts are in this sort of black and white look. Obviously, if you've installed the Zorin OS Pro, you'll have more layouts. And I see there's a link here to upgrade to Zorin OS Pro in this application window. I would suggest, I know Zorin OS Pro is offered on the website for £39. If you're considering getting the full Zorin OS Pro, I would personally recommend you download Core first, which I've done, which is free, and you always have the option to upgrade to Zorin OS Pro later. So let's just see if we can change themes and see what they're like. So that's made an immediate change to our bar down here. Has it made a change to the menu? No, I think the menu is the same looking at that. So not a huge difference there. What about the next layout? Right, so that's brought our Windows 11 look, really. So we've got our icons in the middle of the bar. What about our menu? Okay, so that's more of your traditional GNOME-style menu, which you can scroll through. I see there's firewall configuration there as well, which is excellent. Your driver manager. You know, there's not too many applications here, but there is just enough. So Zorin Connect. I wonder if I click on that, what it actually tells me. Connect your computer with your mobile device. Yeah, whether it's a specialized Zorin application or something based on KDE Connect, I'm not sure, but it's going to do the same sort of job. I think here you've probably got enough to be getting on with. And of course, you've got your driver manager there to find out if there's any drivers that you could install. And let's have a look at this. Okay, so now we have a toolbar here at the top. And right, we've still got our GNOME menu. And it's more of a traditional GNOME look, this, with our little panel here, which already has a few items installed. Do you know, I'm going to go back to the original one, and it seems to change over pretty quickly. When I looked at Makulu the other week, which also had layouts, that took quite a long time to change over. But this is going pretty fast. So, as I say, you can get more desktop layouts if you upgrade to Pro. So let's have a look at the theme, its appearance. Not everybody likes a dark theme. I have to say that I do. I really do. Let's see if I can change it to a dark theme here. Yep, absolutely. And has that applied to my file manager as well? Yes, it has. And I do like that, I have to say. I also get the opportunity here to choose the accents. So I can choose green. I don't know that I like that. Orange, red, purple. Okay. Or grey. Of all of those, I think I prefer personally the blue accent. You also get the opportunity to choose something else. Ah, right, so this is for your icon set. It's on Add Waiter by the look of it from the start. And what do you want your shell to be? I don't seem to have an option there to click anything. What about the interface? Right, where do you want the title bar buttons, the left or right-hand side? Enable animations, jelly mode. So I've heard a lot about this. I don't know if this will work actually in VirtualBox, but let's just enable it. Oh, God, yeah, there we are. If you like jelly mode, it would drive me absolutely mad, to be honest. So I'm going to click that off. And because I'm in VirtualBox, I think I'm also going to turn off the animations. So left super key, what do you want it to do? Activities overview hot corner and taskbar settings. Let's bring that up and see what it says. So how big do you want your panel to be? Small or large? Okay, and it does it straight away. Okay, so that's nice and simple. Intellihide, you want it to hide when you've got other applications open. And you want to change the background opacity, which is already set at 40% by default. Where do you want it to be? Okay, bottom or perhaps top? Or left? Or right? Let's just set it back to normal. And you've pretty much got all the available options here to say where do you want the applications button to be, the taskbar, the center box, everything else. Behavior, show favorite applications. and the action button to say what happens when you do a particular click. Okay. Right, I quite like that. The desktop. Do you want icons on the desktop? I would always like my home icon on the desktop and my rubbish bin. I don't generally have mounted volumes on the desktop, but good to have the option here. And fonts, you get to choose what you want. So in terms of layout and look and feel, I quite like that look, I've got to say. I do like the icon set. I think it's the standard icons that come with GNOME now. But yeah, all good. I'm not going to go into huge detail here on this desktop. This is a first look as much as anything else. But yes, it's a very Windows-like desktop. It feels very familiar to me. What have I got here? I've got over in the taskbar here details of my internet connection, also of my volume. And of course, I can power on and log off there. They're all one button, of course. They're not separate buttons. And the time and date. So, it is what it is. It's a straightforward, relatively plain desktop that gives you a base to build on. And for someone coming over to Linux, you're not going to be disappointed at seeing this. Not by any stretch of the imagination. You've already got an email client, a web browser, you've got a file manager. Oh, I tell you what we haven't looked at. We haven't looked at the software store. And I'm pleased to say after just clicking that for the first time, unlike many distros that I've seen, it hasn't had to go off and refresh. It's already populated with a whole range of different things. I believe it uses deb files, flatpaks, snaps, the works. Let's, for instance, I don't know. Let's click on Thunderbird. Does it tell us what it is? Yeah, so Thunderbird is a snap there. And to install, all I do is click that, enter my password, and you can see it's installing. Couldn't be easier. I've seen a lot of software stores in the past, and personally, I never use them. I tend to install from the command line. But as I said before, I am not an ordinary computer user. I'm a hobbyist, a Linux hobbyist, and I've been using the system for 17 years now, the Linux system. So I've obviously got my preferences about what I want to do with the system. Someone new to Linux is probably just going to want something that is easy for them to get used to. And I think this does the job. I think it's probably designed to appeal to Windows users more than anybody else. There are other distros out there that would appeal more to Mac users. But given the opportunities at the moment for new Windows users to perhaps come across to Linux, I think Zorin probably deserves the love that it's been getting. We'll just wait for that to install and check that it appears in the menu, and then we'll go off and have a chat. So that's now installed, so let's just check in the menu under Internet, and there we have Thunderbird Mail. Oh, right, I know what I need to check just before we go and have a chat. Let's just have a look at the system monitor to see what its RAM usage is like. 1.4 gigs. Okay, this isn't going to be ultra lightweight. You do have the option of installing a lightweight version if you have a very low-powered computer. 1.4 gigs isn't terrible. Most people will have more than enough RAM in their computers to use that. Right, guys, that's it for the review. Right, so that's Zorin OS. I tried to approach this review in a different way. Not in my usual way, where I've looked at a system and I've thought, would I use it? I think most of you know, no, I wouldn't use it. It's not for me, but it's not targeted at me. I've been using Linux for 17 years, coming up 18 years, and I have my own preferences regarding a Linux system. And I prefer something a little bit more vanilla and plain that I can build up from scratch. But I fully accept that the majority of ordinary computer users out there just want functionality. And in terms of that, I think Zorin would be a great start in Linux. It would be a great start for Linux users, experienced Linux users who prefer something that is simple and flexible and easy to get on with, and they don't need to spend hours configuring it. So I think there's a market there. I think we have a lot to offer. New users coming over, and I think Zorin is one of those distros that's very much pitched at Windows users. And I can understand with Windows 11 that the problems with people who have got perhaps older computers, it's going to fill a niche there. So all good, very positive review. So I'd just like to say, as normal, thanks for watching the video. Please subscribe if you enjoy the videos. I have noticed that an awful lot of my viewers aren't subscribed. Really helps, helps the older YouTube algorithms if you're actually subscribed. And of course, you'll get to be notified of videos when they arise. And if you'd like to support the channel, well, you can do that on patreon.com/OldTechBloke, or go to my website and just buy me a pint. It would be very much appreciated either way. I'd just like to finish off by thanking my existing patrons. And they are, of course, Robert, Aristoteles, Stormpix, Mike, Ty, Forrest, Patrick, Glenn, Magnus, Darren, Mislav, and Chris. Thanks very much, guys. And Chris, the latest patron, thanks for your support, mate. And I'll see you all next week.